Friends, if I want to watch super hit movie Venom: The Last Dance in English, then you must like this video. If you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Venom: The Last Dance. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which OT platform or on which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie. Also, we'll talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, box office collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will also give you a small review of the story of this film. Apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film storyline, star cast, actors' performance in the film, and which character has played which role. That's why I request you friends to watch this video till the end, so let's start the video. Venom: The Last Dance is a 2024 American superhero film written and directed by Marcel, which features the Marvel Comics character Venom. The final installment of the Venom trilogy following Venom 2018 and Venom: Let There Be Carnage 2021. It is the fifth film in Sony's Spider-Man universe, SSU, and stars Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock and Venom, alongside Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno, Rhys Ifans, Stephen Graham, Peggy Lou, Clark Bacco, Alana Ubach, and Andy Serkis. Hardy revealed in August 2018 that he was signed on to appear in a third and final Venom film, and Sony Pictures began development by December 2021 after the second film was released. Marcel and Hardy were writing the script by June 2022, and Marcel was set to make her directorial debut with the film that October. New cast members, including Ejiofor and Temple, joined in mid-2023, and filming began at the end of June 2023 in Spain. Production was halted the next month due to the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike and resumed that November after the strike ended. The film was completed by the end of February 2024, and its title was revealed a month later. Venom: The Last Dance premiered at the Regal Times Square Theater in New York City on October 21, 2024, and was released in the United States on October 25. Like its predecessor, the film received mixed reviews from critics and has grossed $175 million worldwide. Plot: Eddie Brock and the Venom symbiote are drunk in a bar in Mexico, still on the run after their recent battle with Carnage. The murder of Patrick Mulligan makes international headlines, with Eddie being named the prime suspect, forcing him to set out to New York City and attempt to clear his name. Not known to either of them, a creature known as a xenophage has begun tracking Eddie and Venom. The recent events catch the attention of Rex Strickland, a soldier who oversees Imperium, a government operation at the site of the soon-to-be decommissioned Area 51, for the capture and study of other symbiotes that have fallen to Earth. Mulligan, revealed to have survived his encounter with Carnage, is captured after being left for dead by another symbiote who eluded Strickland's soldiers. He is bonded with one of many contained symbiotes and questioned by Imperium researchers Dr. Teddy Payne and Sadie Christmas to learn about the symbiote's purpose on Earth before Strickland is ordered to bring Venom down. While attaching themselves onto the side of an airplane bound for New York City, Eddie and Venom are attacked by the xenophage tracking them and are forced to drop off into a desert field. Venom explains to Eddie that xenophages were unleashed into the universe by Null, the creator of the symbiotes, to retrieve a codex, which is forged when a symbiote resurrects its host. This can be used to free Null from the prison the symbiotes trapped him in long ago. Because Venom revived Eddie once before, he now carries a codex that the xenophage has now tracked to Earth. After being ambushed by Strickland and his team while barely escaping from them and the xenophage, Eddie meets Martin Moon and his family of traveling hippie and alien enthusiasts who offer him a free ride to Las Vegas on their way to Area 51. Meanwhile, Mulligan's new symbiote informs Strickland of Null's intentions with the codex, which can only be destroyed if either Eddie or Venom dies. Arriving in Las Vegas, Eddie and Venom run into Mrs. Chen at a casino on vacation, and Venom shares a dance with her before being ambushed by the xenophage again. Strickland's team arrives, separates Venom from Eddie, and takes them to Area 51, where Eddie reunites with Mulligan. Sadie frees Venom, who rebonds with Eddie after Strickland shoots him. This attracts the xenophage to the base, killing Mulligan. Venom has the other confined symbiotes released, which bond with Sadie and other hosts to fight off the xenophage, who has signaled to Null that the Codex has been found. Null sends more xenophages through portals to Earth, overwhelming the symbiotes. Realizing he must sacrifice himself to destroy the Codex and save the universe, Venom merges with the xenophages, leads them into acid tanks, and bids Eddie farewell before ejecting him as a mortally wounded Bam. Strickland sets off his grenades to destroy them. Payne bonds with a symbiote to save Sadie from the explosion, while Eddie falls unconscious as the base burns. Eddie later wakes up in a hospital, where a military official informs Eddie that his actions with Venom at Area 51 have earned him a pardon, under the condition of keeping the events that transpired a secret. Arriving in New York City, Eddie gazes at the Statue of Liberty while remembering Venom. In a mid-credits scene, Null declares that the universe is no longer safe from him now that Venom has fallen. In a post-credits scene, a panicked bartender escapes the burned remains of Area 51 as a black cockroach crawls from the rubble next to a broken vial that previously contained a sample of the Venom symbiote. Cast Tom Hardy as Eddie Brox, Venom, an investigative journalist who is the host of Venom, an alien symbiote that imbues him with superhuman abilities. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Rex Strickland, a commander for Imperium who is tracking Eddie and trying to capture Venom. Juno Temple as Dr. Teddy Payne, a scientist for Imperium, haunted by the death of her brother from a lightning strike that left her arm scarred, who becomes the host of a purple-colored, tendril-haired symbiote. Rhys Ifans as Martin Moon, a hippie and an alien enthusiast. Stephen Graham as Patrick Mulligan, a former police detective who was infected with a symbiote after encountering Carnage but is left for dead by it before he is captured by Imperium. Graham also voices an unnamed green symbiote Mulligan bonds with. Peggy Lou as Mrs. Chen, a convenience store owner who befriended Eddie and Venom. Clark Bacco as Sadie Christmas, a researcher for Imperium who temporarily bonds with the Venom symbiote and later becomes the host of a green-colored four-tendril symbiote. Alana Ubach as Nova Moon, Martin's wife and fellow hippie Andy Serkis as Null, the creator of the symbiotes who seeks Eddie and Venom's codex to free himself. Director Kelly Marcel said about choosing Serkis, who directed Venom, Let There Be Carnage 2021, to play the character. We knew on Venom 2 that he was going to be this Null character. We should be able to bring the character into this movie. Additionally, Hala Finley and Dash McLeod portray Martin's children, Echo and Leaf Moon, respectively. Cristo Fernandez reprises his role as the bartender from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU film Spider-Man: No Way Home, 2021, as well as a version of the character from Venom's universe. Reed Scott, who previously portrayed Dr. Dan Lewis in the first two Venom films, voices the head of Imperium. He is credited as Dan despite the character not appearing in the film. Production development and pre-production more. Star Tom Hardy stated in August 2018 that he had signed on to star in 3 Venom films. In September 2021, Hardy noted that the producers would have to continue to develop Sony's Spider-Man universe, SSU, in future films, but said they were also interested in crossing over with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, more. Venom: Let There Be Carnage, 2021. Director Andy Serkis expressed interest in returning to direct another Venom film, and felt there was more to explore with Venom in future films before the character could meet Spider-Man in a future crossover film, including further exploration of the Ravencroft Institute and other potential villains being held there. In October, Tom Holland said he and producer Amy Pascal had discussed him potentially reprising his MCU role as Peter Parker, Spider-Man in future Venom sequels, after he made a cameo appearance in Let There Be Carnage via footage from the MCU film Spider-Man: No Way Home, 2021. That December, Pascal said they were in the planning stages of Venom 3. Sony Pictures confirmed the film was in development at CinemaCon in April 2022. In June, Hardy revealed that Kelly Marcel was writing the screenplay, after previously working on the prior Venom films, and that he was co-writing the story with her. Hardy was set to be paid $20 million for his involvement. Serkis was unable to return as director due to his commitments to Animal Farm, which he had delayed to work on Let There Be Carnage, but ultimately portrayed the character Null in the film. Marcel signed on in October to make her directorial debut with the film, which was expected to conclude the Venom trilogy. She was also set to produce the film alongside Avi Arad, Matt Tolmach, Pascal, Hutch Parker, and Hardy, all doing so through their respective production companies: Arad Productions, Matt Tolmach Productions, Pascal Pictures, Hutch Parker Entertainment, and Hardy, Son and Baker. Columbia Pictures also produces in association with Marvel Entertainment. Hardy confirmed in February 2023 that pre-production work had begun. Juno Temple entered negotiations to join the cast in an undisclosed lead role in April. The next month, filming was expected to begin in June in London, and Chiwetel Ejiofor was cast as Rex Strickland when Temple was confirmed to have been cast. In June, the film was set for release in October 2024. The film features Null, the King in Black of the symbiotes, who was introduced to the source material in 2018. The filmmakers were always kept aware of the character, but decided they had to lay the foundations for Venom's character and his relationship with Eddie Brock before featuring the Marvel supervillain. As such, they looked for inspiration from the Venom comic books by David Michelinie, Todd McFarlane, Donny Cates, and Ryan Stegman, the latter two being Null's creators, leading Sony to hire them for an advisory relationship and allowing at least Cates to read the screenplay. Cates and Stegman expected monetary compensation for the inclusion of Null. Filming. Principal photography began on June 26, 2023, at Los Mateos in Cartagena, Spain, as well as at the Calblanc Regional Park. Under the working title, Orwell Fabian Wagner serves as the cinematographer after previously serving as an additional cinematographer on Let There Be Carnage. The start of the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike in mid-July 2023 resulted in filming being halted. Later that month, the film was set to release on July 12, 2024. When the actors' strike ended in early November 2023, Sony delayed the film to release on November 8, 2024, filling the November 2024 date that the studio had previously reserved for an untitled Marvel film. Production was preparing to resume at that time. Filming resumed on November 16. In February 2024, Clark Bacco joined the cast in an undisclosed role, and Temple said at the end of the month that filming was nearly completed. Post-production. In March 2024, the film was titled Venom: The Last Dance, and its release date was moved forward to October 25, 2024. The first teaser trailer, released in June, confirmed Peggy Lou and Stephen Graham were reprising their respective roles as Mrs. Chen and Patrick Mulligan from prior Venom films, as well as the castings of Rhys Ifans, Alana Ubach, and Cristo Fernandez. Ifans previously portrayed Kurt Connors, Lizard, in Sony's The Amazing Spider-Man 2012 and No Way Home, while Fernandez appeared in No Way Home as a bartender who interacts with Brock after he is transported to the MCU via the multiverse. Germaine Lucier at IO9 questioned if the appearances of Ifans and Ejiofor, who played Carl Mordo in the MCU, were less concerned about continuity with the MCU and were instead commentary on the multiverse, rather than being connected to their prior roles. Molly Edwards of Total Film was also confused by the reference to the mid-credits scene of No Way Home in the trailer, since the Venom films are set in a separate universe from the MCU. John Moffat and Aharon Borland serve as the visual effects supervisors, while Greg Baxter is the visual effects producer. Visual effects are provided by Industrial Light and Magic ILM, DNIC, Digital Domain, Rodeo FX, and Territory Studio, while the Third Floor Inc., Torchlight, and Host provided the pre-visualization and post-visualization work. Mark Sanger edited the film, which was completed at the Cary Grant Theatre at the Sony Pictures Studios lot in early October 2024. Music by August 2024, Dan Deacon composed the score for the film. A soundtrack album was released on October 25, 2024 by Sony Classical. The film features the original song One Last Dance by Tom Morello and Grandson, featuring Morello's teenage son Roman, which was released as a digital single on the same day. Release theatrical Venom: The Last Dance held its world premiere at the Regal Times Square Theater in New York City on October 21, 2024. and was theatrically released by Sony Pictures, releasing in the United States on October 25th in IMAX and other premium large formats, PLFs. The film was originally expected to be released in October 2024, before it was given a release date of July 12, 2024, when Sony adjusted their release schedule due to the SAG-AFTRA strike. After the strike ended, the film's release was delayed to November 8, 2024, before it was moved forward and returned to the October 2024 timeframe. Home media Sony signed deals with Netflix and Disney in April 2021 for the rights to their 2022 to 2026 film slate, following the film's theatrical and home media windows. Netflix signed for exclusive Pay-1 window streaming rights, which is typically an 18-month window and included future Venom films following Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Disney signed for Pay-2 window rights for the films, which would be streamed on Disney Plus and Hulu, as well as broadcast on Disney's linear television networks. Reception box office. As of October 27, 2024, Venom: The Last Dance has grossed $51 million in the United States and Canada and $124 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $175 million. According to Deadline Hollywood, the film needs to gross $450 to $500 million in order to turn a profit. In the United States and Canada, Venom: The Last Dance was released alongside Conclave and was projected to gross around $65 million from 4,125 theaters in its opening weekend. The film made $22 million on its first day, including $8.5 million from Thursday night previews. It went on to debut to $51 million, finishing in first, but marking the lowest opening of the series. Deadline Hollywood attributed the underperformance to the ongoing Yankees-Dodgers World Series and alleged audiences' growing wariness of superhero films and trilogies. Nevertheless, the film's international box office gross would help offset its weaker performance at the North American box office. Critical response. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 38% of 144 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 4.7/10. The website's consensus reads, "The always watchable Tom Hardy injects ample charisma into Venom: The Last Dance, but the offering buckles under its convoluted tonal ambitions." Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 41 out of 100, based on 43 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B on an A+ to F scale, the lowest of the trilogy, while those surveyed by PostTrack gave it a 73% overall positive score, with 55% saying they would definitely recommend it. Christy Lemire of RogerEbert.com gave the film 1.54 stars, writing, "When it leans hard into the inherent absurdity of its wacky, mismatched buddy antics, Venom: The Last Dance can be a total blast. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen nearly as often as it should." The Daily Telegraph's Robbie Collin gave it 1/5 stars, calling it a yammeringly moronic, teenage boy-pandering eyesore of the old school, with little to offer any viewer whose age or counting ability exceeds the low 20s. He concluded, "As Last Dances go, it's the Macarena in film form." Kevin Maher of The Times also gave it 1/5 stars, saying, "It's hugely dispiriting to watch Hardy sink so low. From the elegant character work of Stewart, A Life Backwards, and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, to a blank-eyed Marvel meathead whose greatest line is, 'We've got to get the codex as far away as possible.'" Alcy Rengifo of Entertainment Voice wrote, "Venom as a franchise works as a comic book cousin of Lethal Weapon or any other popular series featuring an entertaining, mismatched duo." Amy Nicholson of The New York Times said, "Honestly, I'd rather watch Eddie and Venom dicker over pizza toppings than team up for something as banal as saving the planet." Jake Cole of Slant Magazine gave the film 3/4 stars, writing, "As the film progresses, it consistently escalates the stakes and scale of its action, which doesn't devolve into incomprehensible CG murk as it hurtles toward the climax." 64. The Independent's Clarice Lovery wrote, "It's hard to say how these films will be remembered in the grand scheme of comic book history, but with The Last Dance, we can at least be reminded that sometimes they actually manage to have fun with these things," and gave it 3/5 stars. Future ahead of the film's release in October 2024, Marcel said that while The Last Dance concludes with the story arc of Eddie Brock and Venom, it sets up the character Null for future appearances within the SSU and is the beginning of the character's story. While the film was intended as the conclusion of the Venom trilogy, Hardy expressed interest in reprising his role in the future and having his character cross over with Spider-Man, saying, "Never say never." When it leans hard into the inherent absurdity of its wacky, mismatched buddy antics, Venom: The Last Dance can be a total blast. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen nearly as often as it should. Now starring in his third feature film as both journalist Eddie Brock and his symbiote alter ego, Tom Hardy, clearly remains down for the broad playfulness the roles require. The fact that this is an actor who's notoriously committed to his craft and has devoted all that intensity to bringing a wisecracking, shape-shifting space creature to life is part of the allure of the bit. Hardy's usually got some quirky voice up his sleeve, and playing Venom has given him the opportunity to take that instinct and run wild. But far too frequently, Venom: The Last Dance makes the mistake of deviating from what worked in the previous two films, particularly the second movie in the franchise and the best of them all, 2021's Venom: Let There Be Carnage. It grinds to a halt and stops being a Venom movie in favor of dull developments at an underground lab far beneath the surface of Area 51. Even more egregiously, it squanders the significant talents of Juno Temple and Chiwetel Ejiofor down there in one-note roles. Directing for the first time, returning screenwriter Marcel spends way too much time away from the kinds of scenes that really sing. All we need is Eddie and Venom, bickering and bantering and fighting their way out of sticky situations, sometimes literally, as they further solidify their unlikely bromance. The visual effects can be murky here, especially in the massive action sequences, where it looks like inscrutable blobs of multicolored goo flinging themselves at each other. But that Eddie-Venom relationship is always clear, as they share one body in myriad inventive ways. What ends up happening, though, is that just as some crazy set piece is really getting going, Venom: The Last Dance cuts away abruptly to what's happening back at the lab. A fight atop an airplane at 30,000 feet, a rollicking horseback ride across the desert, a goofy dance number in a Las Vegas penthouse. These are the moments we should have time to luxuriate in, and they always feel too short. The pacing is frustratingly erratic throughout, and the tonal swings are awkward. The Last Dance begins on a rather dour note with some deadly serious exposition from none other than Null, voiced by Andy Serkis, the Marvel villain who created the symbiotes in the first place. Rendered with the grainy, grimy look of a retro video game, Null explains in dreary, menacing fashion that he needs his toothy, crustacean-like minions to seek out the key that will unlock him from the void. That key exists when Eddie and Venom are paired together, like a red beacon that allows Null's beastly creatures to hunt the duo down. They are literally the MacGuffin in their own movie. They're on the run from everyone is every realm imaginable, and a bit in which Eddie keeps losing one or both of his shoes isn't all that funny the first time. There are small joys along their journey, though. Cristo Fernandez, the always sunny Donnie Rojas from Ted Lasso, reprises his role as the Mexican bartender at the end of Spider-Man: No Way Home. Peggy Lou, the steadfast Mrs. Chen, shows up in a surprising setting and breathes giddy life into the picture. But her appearance is a prime example of The Last Dance cutting away too quickly from a good thing, and an impromptu road trip with a hippie family led by Rhys Ifans and Alana Ubach leads to an amusing musical interlude. But all roads lead to Area 51, where Temple's scientist and Ejiofor's military leader have conflicting ideas on how to handle the symbiotes in general and Venom in particular. She wants to study them, he wants to destroy them. And that's about all there is to those characters. Even actors of their caliber can't do much with what's missing on the page, and so when significant developments occur that are meant to evoke real emotions from us, they instead ring hollow. Lest you think the film's explosive conclusion means this truly is The Last Dance, stick around through the credits, and that means all the way through, for a peek at what's in store. Whatever it is, Hardy may want to hang up his dancing shoes for good next time. The Last Dance. After watching Venom: The Last Dance, I can't believe that we had already seen key moments of the Marvel movie's dramatic and emotional ending in the film's own trailer a month prior. As the final release in the Venom film trilogy, and with Venom, The Last Dance revealed to include several symbiotes and the incredibly powerful and ominous Marvel villain Null. Venom 3 was interesting for a variety of reasons that only grew in the time that passed after the initial announcement of the installment. In the months that led up to the release of the 2024 Marvel movie, we got a wide selection of videos and photos teasing what the upcoming story would be like. Plenty of these set up the idea that notable figures from the Venom: The Last Dance cast could be killed off during the course of its narrative, most crucially including teasing the potential deaths of Venom and Eddie Brock themselves. However, I wasn't expecting these teases to actually have shown parts of Venom: The Last Dance's ending, including the scene where Venom sacrifices himself. Towards the very end of the Venom: The Last Dance trailer, the video shows a clip of Eddie Brock looking troubled with fire behind him, followed up with his hand reaching out to the outstretched tentacle of Venom. Interestingly, this takes from one of the most notable and climactic scenes in the actual ending of Venom: The Last Dance, wherein the symbiote reaches out a tentacle to Eddie one last time while sacrificing himself to destroy the xenophages, and moves past Brock in order to pick up a metal door to protect him with in a final act of compassion. Shortly after this, the trailer also shows Eddie and Venom's last conversation in the wreckage of a helicopter, wherein a wounded Eddie is healed by Venom before the symbiote makes its last stand against the monsters made by its creator. While these scenes weren't glaringly obvious in terms of what they were really about, it still feels wild to know that anyone who watched the trailer unwittingly had already witnessed core parts of its ending, weeks before we'd actually get to view it in cinemas. Though it's clear from the pacing and Tom Hardy's expressions as Eddie Brock that the moments shown in the trailer are emotionally charged ones, knowing the specifics is almost impossible without the full context of these scenes. And indeed, they're very carefully cut so as to not reveal any more than they need to. Since promotion for Venom: The Last Dance repeatedly referred to the idea that one or both of the heroes could die, the moments in the trailer certainly highlight this possibility, but in a manner that avoids giving too much away. Given the title of Venom: The Last Dance and the choice to advertise the installment as the last adventure in the Venom movie series, it stands to reason that not teasing some drama of this caliber in the trailer would have not only been weird, but also a waste of valuable marketing time. Promoting the story as potentially killing off Venom or Eddie, or both, naturally is a key point of the movie, and one that is sure to have encouraged audiences to see the release, especially if they'd already witnessed the prior two installments, with streaming making it more tempting than ever to wait to see a movie upon its streaming release, suggesting that viewers would miss out in a major way if they didn't go to see the film during its cinematic release. And worse, that they could get a major death spoiled for them by waiting instead of going to see it sooner rather than later, seems a savvy move. As such, featuring scenes that strongly allude to this in the Venom: The Last Dance trailer was a strategic choice, since moments could be shown that tease this drama without ruining anything. The Last Dance bromances its way to $51 million debut. Meanwhile, papal thriller Conclave earns the number 4 spot. Beetlejuice keeps making money, and Joker, Folie à Deux drops out of the top 10. October was not nearly the month that some had hoped it would be, and that primarily falls on the shoulders of one particular DC musical sequel. This is not to say it has not had its headlines. Terrifier 3 has been a great story. Smile 2 has done fine. September holdovers Beetlejuice and the Wild Robot have contributed nicely. All that being said, while the month may indeed be the lowest on record post-pandemic, the autumn season didn't even need the success of Folie à Deux to have its best turnout since 2019, likely coming in just shy of $1 billion. If only the new Venom movie had done business like its predecessors, the season may have crossed that threshold. King of the Crop Venom: The Last Dance bromances its way to $51 million debut. Do you remember the great Venom vs. A Star is Born battle of 2018? It was romance versus bromance, and Sony's Marvel spin-off opened to $80.2 million. Bradley Cooper's remake started with $42.9 million on the same weekend and ultimately bested Ruben Fleischer's film by $1.6 million and change. It was one of the rare instances of gigantic hits, both over $200 million domestic, opening on the same date. Venom, of course, won the worldwide battle by almost $420 million, grossing $856 million globally. The sequel, directed by Andy Serkis, Venom: Let There Be Carnage, had an equally great story to tell when it opened to $90 million, the biggest opening of the pandemic to date in October 2021, and one that was bested that year only by Sony's Spider-Man: No Way Home. Its $213.55 million domestic gross was almost identical to the original's $251 million, even though its global total was understandably down. And by down, we mean it still made $506.8 million. That brings us 3 years later to Venom: The Last Dance. The series is on its third director, Kelly Marcel, writer of the first two, who also contributed rewrites to earlier Tom Hardy films Bronson and Mad Max: Fury Road. And we're now in the era of comic book fatigue, or mediocrity, or disinterest, or whatever label you want to put on it, for something not involving the combo meal of two characters in a crossover event. With its $51 million debut, The Last Dance is the fifth $50+ million start for Sony this year. To put it in context, that's a lower start than last year's The Flash and less than $5 million higher than the Marvels. Even if The Last Dance grosses higher than those films, and that seems likely, a finish around $125 million won't even get the film halfway to profit. Thankfully, that is where its fans overseas kick in. The reported budget of the film was $120 million, and international territories have already added $124 million to the gross. That could be more in one weekend than it grosses in North America in its whole run. As long as it doubles up its domestic gross on the international side, Sony will have gotten 3 solid hits out of this series, continuing a good year that has included Bad Boys, Ride or Die, It Ends With Us, and the Garfield movie. That's more than enough to put aside the failures of Madame Web, Harold and the Purple Crayon, and the 5th Ghostbusters. The top 10 and beyond. Conclave debuts at number 4, Joker tumbles out of top 10, Smile 2 nearly matched the original's opening last week, besting it by around just $500,000. It would have liked to have matched the original's second week drop too, of just 18.3%. Instead, it fell nearly 60% down to $9.5 million. It is now nearly a full $10 million off the first film's 10-day total of $50.7 million and has grossed barely half of its predecessor's second weekend. So let's stop comparing the two and look back at the numbers of Happy Death Day, which had a $9.3 million second weekend and a 10-day gross of $40.6 million. That is a better view of where Smile 2 may be headed, which would be in the $55 million range. Internationally, the film has made another $43 million, and even with that domestic estimate, the film will have no problem achieving over $100 million globally and turning a theatrical profit. Chris Sanders' The Wild Robot is currently enjoying the profit phase of its release as well. It passed $200 million globally before the weekend, and with another $6.8 million, its domestic total is at $111.6 million. The film has been slowly losing its pace with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It was ahead last week by $6 million, but only by a little over $3 million this week. Cloudy won the 5th weekend $8 million to $6.5 millioners, but the $125 to $130 millioner estimate is holding steady for now, if closer to the lower number. The Wild Robot has added another $121 million internationally already, and Universal should be happy with the returns for this. Having a decent showing is Conclave, Edward Berger's follow-up to his Oscar-winning Netflix adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front. This PG-rated papal thriller with Ralph Fiennes is considered an awards contender this year as well, and adults put $6.6 million in the collection plate of 1,753 theaters. It's only the second $5+ million start for Focus Features this year, after Jeff Nichols' The Biker Riders started with $9.6 million in June and finished with $21.6 million. That's also the only film they have had gross over $10 million total domestically this year. Even if the Pharrell Williams Lego doc Piece by Piece is getting close after making another $720,000 this weekend, that film stands at $8.88 million. Focus is hoping they can make Conclave play into awards season. Last year, they platformed Alexander Payne's The Holdovers on this same weekend, and it went on to gross $20.3 million. Speaking of great stories and films into profit, Damien Leone's Terrifier 3 continues to draw an audience on the pre-Halloween weekend. $4.7 million this weekend brings its total to $44.5 million. At this point, it is one of the 25 most profitable films of the year, a list that also includes fellow horror films Alien, Romulus, A Quiet Place Day 1, Longlegs, Speak No Evil, Tarot, and The Strangers, Chapter 1. Smile 2 could ultimately join that group as well. A24 tried the same approach with John Crowley's We Live in Time, starting with a 5-theater launch, then moving it last week into 985 theaters. This weekend, it tripled its theaters, 2,924, the biggest move the studio has made after an initial limited release. Helena Rhine's Bodies doubled from 1,290 to 2,541 theaters in weekend 3 and grossed $2.37 million. They are also releasing The Rhine's Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman in December. Sofia Coppola's Priscilla last year moved from 1,359 to 2,361 theaters, and it made $4.6 million, ultimately grossing over $20 million. We Live in Time added $4.8 million to bring its 17-day total to $11.7 million. The studio's bump of Ex Machina back in 2015 to 1,255 theaters in its third weekend got it $5.34 million, and it went on to make over $25 million. We Live in Time is almost halfway there. Wrapping up the top 10, we still have Tim Burton's Beetlejuice on its quest for $300 million domestic. Adding $3.1 million brings the total to $288.6 million. Its Pace Animal Attack of the Clones had $291.2 million after its 8th weekend of $2.45 million. It remains on track as it also approaches an end run of over $450 million worldwide. Inflation notwithstanding, this is Burton's third highest grossing film and third most profitable, up there with Alice in Wonderland and Batman. Sean Baker's Anora moved from 6 theaters into 34 this weekend and grossed $909,000 to grab 8th place. That's a $26,730 per theater average for the Neon release. In 1997, Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights went from 2 theaters in its opening to 30 theaters in its second week to gross $869,146, and Barry Jenkins's Moonlight made $850,114 in its second weekend after expanding to 36 theaters, just to show you the kind of company that Anora is keeping. Boogie Nights and Moonlight grossed $26.4 million and $27.8 million respectively. Todd Phillips' Joker spent 9 weeks in the top 10 in 2019. Joker Folie à Deux has fallen out after just 3. Another 72% drop to $600,000 brings it to just $57 million. It is now going to get outgrossed by Transformers 1, which made $720,000 for a total of $57.9 million. The roughly $200 million production has just crossed $201 million globally, which helps it clear a handful plus of films that are actually bigger bombs. But how about this for its record? The worst multiple for a film opening in over 3,000 theaters that didn't have pandemic implications to it. Disney's Onward was released just before it started, or day-and-date streamers like Halloween Ends and Five Nights at Freddy's, is 1.76, which was achieved by Eli Roth's Borderlands. Joker Folie à Deux is currently at approximately 1.51. Even Onward finished its brief 11-day run with a 1.57 multiple. Also out of the top 10, Coralie Farjat's The Substance fell only 30% and grossed $605,000 to bring its total up to $14.5 million. The Nightmare Before Christmas made another $507,000 to bring its reissue from Disney to $5.8 million. For more adult animation, Adam Elliott's Memoir of a Snail, released by IFC, made $64,000 in 5 theaters. Sony hopes to have a 1-2 punch when they release Robert Zemeckis' new drama Here, with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, next week. The 30 years in the making Forrest Gump reunion that spans decades more than that is hoping to get better play than when Sony released Zemeckis' The Walk in the wake of The Martian back in 2015. Getting an even smaller peak is Clint Eastwood's new film Juror No. 2, which Warner Bros. Is inexplicably releasing into only 50 theaters and reportedly not even going to release box office grosses on. No matter how upset they may be over the reviews and grosses for their Joker musical, that's a hell of a way to treat a 94-year-old filmmaker who may have delivered his final hurrah to a studio he has been, with only a very few exceptions like Absolute Power and Changeling, fiercely loyal to since 1976. As for film studios do care about, Searchlight is releasing Jesse Eisenberg's sophomore directorial effort, A Real Pain, starring himself and Kieran Culkin. The Sundance pickup is tracking well with critics and expected to make a few waves this award season, as is Steve McQueen's Blitz, which is getting a limited run from Apple before heading to its streaming service on November 22. Directed by Kelly Marcel, screenplay by Kelly Marcel, story by Tom Hardy, Kelly Marcel, produced by Aviarad Meadow, Amy Pascal, Kelly Marcel, Tom Hardy, Hutch Parker, starring Tom Hardy, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno, Templery Evans, Stephen Graham, Peggy L. Clara, Pandy Circus, cinematography Fabian Wagner, edited by Mark Sanger, music by Dan Deacon, production companies Columbia Pictures, Marvel Entertainment, production prods Matt Toik Productions, Pascal Pictures, D Entertainment, Hutch Parker Entertainment, Hardy, Son and Baker, distributed by Sony Pictures. Release dates October 21st, 2024 in New York City, October 25th, 2024 in United States. Running time 109 minutes. Country language English, but 120 million. Box office $35.8 million. So guys, this is the review of Venom, The Last Dance movie, and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.